What shall it profit a man to gain the whole world, yet lose his soul? These words echo through time, a warning to a world blinded by greed and consumed by the unquenchable thirst for wealth and power. We live in a society where the pursuit of quick riches has become the new gospel, where morals are sold for a price, and where souls are lost in the shadowy depths of dark rituals and deception. We trade our conscience for power and wealth, only to find ourselves entangled in a deadly game beyond our control, fueled by dangerous secrets and forbidden rituals. But no riches come without a cost. For every glittering coin, there's a debt to be paid. Binta lay on the bed of her grand home, her body trembling with pain. The riches around her all seemed so far away now, useless against the sickness that had taken over her as she lay there dying. She realized how empty her life had become. Her heart was heavy with regrets. She had taken the path that had led her to this dark place, and it was time to confess. Amina, her childhood friend, and Amina's husband were by her side. Amina sat by her side, holding Binta's frail hand. The room was dim, and the air was thick with the smell of burning incense. But even that couldn't hide the stench of death creeping closer. Binta coughed, her chest tightening with each breath.
I have a confession to make. I must tell you both how it all began.
She whispered, her voice weak but determined. Amina nodded, her eyes filled with concern. Her husband stood there quiet, listening.
I grew up in an average home. My parents were neither rich nor poor, just in there. We had enough to eat and drink. Life was okay for us.
Binta began, her mind drifting back.
But everything changed when my parents divorced. It felt like they both forgot about me in the middle of their problems. They left me behind. I ended up living with my uncle and his wife. My uncle was always away on business trips, and his wife, she was cruel when he wasn't around. She would invite strange men over whenever he traveled, and I was left alone, hungry, cold, and forgotten in that house. It felt like I didn't matter to anyone, even my own parents.
Amina listened, quietly, remembering how she had first seen Binta as a skinny, desperate girl.
One day,
Binta continued,
I saw a lady called Fetu. She was so beautiful and rich, and I wanted to be like her. We became friends. I later followed her to her big house and asked her how she did it, how she became so wealthy. She told me about Lamu, the native doctor. She said he had power, real power, and that if I wanted to be rich, I had to go see him.
Amina squeezed Binta's hand, silently, urging her to continue.
We went together, deep into the forest.
Binta said, her eyes wide with the memory.
The trees were tall and dark, and the air was so thick. It felt like the forest was alive, watching us. When we reached Lamo's hut, I was scared, but I was more scared of staying poor and alone.
Binta's breath raised as she recalled the first time she met Lamo.
The native doctor was an old man with deep lines on his face and eyes that seemed to glow with something evil. Lamo performed strange rituals. He covered me in a thick, black paste and chanted words I couldn't understand. When it was over, he gave me a talisman. He said if I wore it, I would get whatever I wanted, riches, money, beauty, anything. At first, it seemed like the world had opened up for me. I began to wear the talisman every day, and soon, things started to change. Money began to flow my way. Men showered me with gifts. I was the envy of the town. I was no longer the poor girl who wandered the town in rags. I became someone people respected or feared. I bought the biggest house in the town, I wore the finest clothes, and I ate the best food. Every day, I threw grand parties, inviting everyone to see how rich I was. I thought I was happy. I thought I had everything. But deep down, I was never satisfied. The more I had, the more I wanted. The power that had once thrilled me now felt like a curse. I began to hear whispers in the night, voices calling my name, demanding more from me. I needed more power. So, I went to a different native doctor. His name was Kolu, and he was even darker and more dangerous than Lamo. Kolu lived far beyond the town, in a place where the trees grew so thick that no sunlight could get through. His hut was surrounded by skulls and strange markings, a warning to anyone who dared approach. But I was blinded by my desire for more power, and I didn't care about the danger. Kolu demanded something greater from me. He told me that power always comes with a price. He didn't just want gold or jewels, he wanted me to give up a part of my soul. I didn't bother to ask Kolu what he meant by that. I gave him what he wanted, thinking it would be worth it. After all, I already had riches. What harm could more power do? He performed strange rituals, and part of the rituals was for me to have sexual intercourse with him. My ambitions only grew larger. I no longer limited myself to local connections. Instead, I set my sights on powerful international businessmen from across continents and presidents of various African nations. Using my charm and newfound supernatural abilities, I was able to manipulate and hypnotize access to the most influential circles with ease. I also dabbled in romance scams, playing the role of a devoted lover to wealthy men across the globe. With every sweet word and loving gesture, I drew them deeper into my web of deception. I made them believe in a love that never existed, manipulating their emotions until they willingly gave me access to their fortunes. Pretending to be in need or spinning tales of tragic circumstances, I would convince them to send me large sums of money. Once I had drained them of everything I could, I would vanish without a trace, leaving behind only broken hearts and empty bank accounts. With my immense wealth, I purchased luxurious homes in different countries and states, living a life of excess. Money flowed like a never-ending stream, and I basked in the luxury it provided, but my hunger for power didn't stop there. I began recruiting outsiders who, like me, were desperate for wealth and influence. I led them down the same dark path, introducing them to the dangerous world of magic and manipulation in exchange for their loyalty. The web of greed and darkness I spun grew even wider. I would deceive people, promising to secure them visas to travel abroad. But once they handed over their money, they never heard from me again. The devil never gives without taking something in return. My world began to unravel. My health started to fail fast. It was just minor spells of dizziness and weakness. But as time passed, my body grew frail, and no amount of money or medicine could save me. I sought help from countless pastors who claimed to be men of God, but none offered real solutions. They only took my money. What I didn't realize was that the wealth came with a hidden cost: my life. Kolu had kept the truth from me in exchange for riches. I had unknowingly traded away my remaining years. I realized too late,
Binta said, tears streaming down her face.
the power, the riches, they were not worth it. Kolu's power was dark, and it had poisoned me. My body is dying because of the choices I made.
Amina's eyes welled with tears as she listened to Binta's confession. Binta's body grew still, her breathing slowed, and her eyes fluttered shut. Amina held her hand until it grew cold. The weight of Binta's confession weighed heavy on her heart. The night was quiet, but the shadows in the room seemed to pulse with an unseen force, a reminder of the dark path Binta had walked, and the price she had paid for her hunger for power.